Good day, folks, and welcome back to Ed's Garage. I'm here at the beautiful Nahatlatch Fire Tower in beautiful British Columbia, and today I want to go over some of the modifications I've done to my 2007 Hummer H3 Luxury with Adventure package. So the reason I'm doing this video is because on other subsequent videos in regards to my Hummer H3 and on Facebook, I've had a lot of questions about the truck and what I've done to it. So let's go over some of those things. Quick shout out to the Four Wheel Drive Association of British Columbia for maintaining this site. Well done, guys. All right, starting with the front of my Hummer H3. So as you can see, I've got a 32-inch light bar mounted on there. I've also got the Rugsell 12,000 pound winch. Now, personally, I love Chinese stuff. I always buy cheap before I spend a lot of money. And if cheap doesn't work, then I'll spend a lot of money. But you know what? Oddly, cheap works a lot if you do the research before you buy. And this winch has been fantastic. It's gotten me out of a few binds already, and I've helped out a few friends with it too. It works really, really well, and it's got wireless controllers. So the control box is mounted right here. The wired controller plugs into there. It's actually a nice rubber spot, so it keeps it nice and dry. Located directly above the winch is my forward-facing camera. Another cheap Chinese camera, but this one actually has 4 lights on the front, which is kind of cool, and a bug squiggling around right there, which is kind of gross. I've got a lot of dead bugs on here right now. But this camera comes on the screen that I have inside, and I'll show you that a little bit later on. Moving on to the lights, you'll see I've got some pretty cool lights. And you can see what they look like. So I've got the fog lights with the halo. Of course, they are an LED projection lights. And then LED headlights, also projection with the cool little V there. So this headlight is made by a company called Ovator, O-V-A-T-O-R. You can find them on Amazon. All right, check out what they do with the turn signal. How cool is that? Now the turn signals are also LED. I just installed an LED light into the turn signal. So that's all that's happening there. Now with the headlights, this 7-inch headlight doesn't actually mount in factory. So what you can do is you can go to Lazed Designs, just Google Lazed Designs. You can find an adapter kit that they 3D print that allows you to put these in really easy. I just actually basically took my existing headlights and grinded them down, cut them out, and made these fit, which worked. But there is another problem you have to overcome, which I'll get to in a second. And then of course LED lights on the markers as well. So the issue that you have to overcome, and you can kind of see the old factory headlight housing here, and then it's kind of grinded out to make the light fit in there properly. But the issue you have to overcome is that when you flip the headlights into high beams, when you turn the high beams on, it actually reverses the polarity of the headlight bulb, and then it just screws everything up when you try to use one of these 7-inch bulbs that's actually meant for a Jeep. So what I ended up doing was I just ran both sets of wires to a relay, and then basically the relay powers both headlights and both high beams. So that's why I've got 2 relays there and a whole bunch of wiring going on. So that's what's going on there. Now for the winch mount, I forgot to mention, this, you can see it's actually welded in right here, this plate. It's just an angle iron, so you can see it's welded. Got a couple of pieces that I welded on here to support it. It's just a piece of angle iron that's bolted in with the front bush guard. So that's what's going on there. Now, considering the H3 comes with the 4L60E transmission, not exactly a bulletproof transmission, I did opt to install a transmission cooler, and you can see the fan for it right there. So I've got I think it's a 12 by 9-inch transmission cooler. I do recommend a larger cooler though, especially if you're going to be towing. So this one will come out eventually. I'm going to be replacing it with a larger cooler. I'm also going to be completely removing the transmission cooler, not removing the cooler, but disconnecting the cooler that's at the bottom of the radiator, because a common issue with these is that they leak into the radiator, causing the strawberry milkshake of death. So that's a later modification coming down the road. All right, someone's no doubt going to ask what's going on here. These are just temporarily there. Basically what this is I normally have a small solar panel on the roof, and it just keeps my battery charged up. So I just kind of put these on the terminals, and I have a relay here so that it cuts it off when the truck is on, but as soon as the truck is off, it allows the solar panel to charge the battery. So that's what's going on there. I've also got a very large if I remember correctly, this was a it's 5 gauge, actually says right on there, 5 gauge wire going through a 40 amp breaker running all the way to the back of the truck to power a few different accessories, which I'll show you momentarily. So being a big 3D printer guy, I had to print several things for my truck because, well, why not? It's just fun to do so. So I've got Hummer, and this is actually printed with glow-in-the-dark filaments. So at night, if I want to take a cool picture of my truck at night with some stars in the background or whatever, like this one, I can do so and have it all lit up, which is kind of cool. I also have some ditch lights here. Now, the ditch lights that I have actually came with the truck, but they were mounted on the back of a roof basket. I decided to mount them here, and I ended up just using some Home Depot L brackets, which I bent to the right shape. They're screwed into the cowl underneath this. This just pops off really easily. And of course, this is also 3D printed, as you can see. As for the paint scheme here, I've seen a lot of trucks that have had the little cap here, the cowl cap painted. But I've never seen anyone do this, and I like to be a little bit different. I like to be a little bit unique, so hence the black there. There's also a lot of people that have this painted, which I might do to kind of tie in with that, but I don't know, I like the look the way it is. I also painted these as well. These tend to get gray and ugly after a while. So that's painted, that's painted, that's painted, all with the same stuff. Basically, I just painted with Rust-Oleum's bed liner. So I did the same thing with the passenger side mirror because it was chrome. This one was black. The bed liner holds up really well to all of the abuse of all the pinstriping trees here in British Columbia. So hence why I used it for that. The tires are wrapped around the factory rims. I did have deep dish sort of black rims on here before, but I actually prefer the look of the stock rims myself. So some people may disagree, that's fine. But yeah, I've got 35-inch KM3s on here. Yes, they're not actually 35-inch. They're like 34.98 or something like that. But basically, they're a 315/75/16, and they're about 35 inches tall and about 12 inches wide. Now, there's obviously a lot of different types of all-terrain tires and mud-terrain tires out there. The reason I chose these is because I went off-roading with a friend, with several friends actually, and we were in snow. And the guy with the KM3s was just blowing us all away in the snow. I looked it up, and it turns out they've got a really high silica content, which makes them good in the snow. So I decided to go with that set, and honestly, they've been awesome. So suspension-wise, I haven't done anything. It's got Bilstein shocks on the front. Not sure what's on the back. The front is leveled to the 23.5 inches, which is pretty standard. A lot of people do that. That's what I left it at. It was actually like that when I bought it. You'll also notice the front wings of the bumper have been cut off. That was the previous owner that did that as well, which I'm actually glad he did, because I would have done it as well, because it really gives you that approach angle that we're all looking for. I'm going to be 3D printing a cap that covers that as well. All right, you see we've got a solar panel mounted above the sunroof. I really have a love and hate relationship with the solar panel, because I really love my sunroof, and it doesn't leak because I did a total modification on that as well, which I'll explain momentarily. I've got silicone around the OnStar antenna. The OnStar antenna itself is just going to come off eventually because it's a pain in the ass. And they leak, so it's going to come off for sure. But the solar panel, you notice, is actually mounted with two-sided 3M, which is starting to wear out. So I'm going to have to redo that. But then on the sides, you can see it's got brackets holding it into place. I've got my GoPro mount there, and then those little spots is where I had the small solar panel, which just the other day ripped off in the wind. So I got to figure out something else for that as well. On the far side there is my antenna mount, and then of course my beautiful rooftop tent. That's a 4-person tent. It's an OVS tent, Overland Vehicle Systems tent. It's awesome. I highly recommend it to anybody looking for a rooftop tent. Pretty easy to install. The hardware it comes with is kind of chintzy, so if you do decide to go Overland Vehicle Systems for your rooftop tent, get some better hardware. On top of the tent I have my shower, so that's just built out of PVC piping. You can see here I got my fill. I think it's empty right now though. Yeah, it's empty. And then I got a little shower hose there. It does the job. You know, it was cheap. It's not PVC, it's ABS. No, it's PVC. ABS? I can't remember. The black one. Now, one thing I did do to the vehicle in order to just make the tires clear a little bit better, because while they do clear pretty well at factory height, not only can you obviously level the front with the torsion bars, but you can also do a body lift. So I did a DIY body lift. Basically just cut my own pucks out of a polyurethane or something rather plastic rod. There's a link in the description to that video, so check that out. So it's got a 1-inch body lift, which you can see right here. Got a bit of a gap there, But yeah, it looks pretty good still. Got another GoPro mount on the side here, and also wanted to point out, if you have one of these trucks, consider getting some convex mirrors because the blind spots in this thing are horrendous. We have some quick fists. I have my axe and my shovel mounted there. On the rear tire, I have good old Trasharoo here, but it's not actually Trasharoo. It's a no-name brand, cheaper from China, and it's awesome. Haven't had a single problem with it. It's had years of abuse now, and it's holding up just fine. I really like my cheap Chinese crap. Underneath the vehicle, the only thing that's really significant enough to talk about is the Walker muffler. So the vehicle did have a GM Performance muffler on it. I took it off because I didn't like the drone, and I put in the Walker muffler. It's a factory OEM replacement muffler, and it just sounds way better. I've also got, not a Cherry Bomb resonator, but it's not a resonator. Cherry Bomb makes mufflers, but it's a straight through muffler that I'm using in place of the resonator to try to quiet down the truck a little bit. I don't like loud trucks, and that's why I did that. All right, so in regards to the sunroof drain, so big problem, big problem with these trucks is that the sunroofs leak. And the reason for that is because the drain is routed through the firewall. So it comes down the A-pillar and it goes into like a rubber grommet, goes through the firewall and then drains out. I think it's behind the tire or inside the, I don't know, drains out somewhere over there, and that grommet always clogs up because it has these little, I don't know what the hell they are, but they're like pieces of rubber inside them that you have to drill out in order to stop it from clogging up. The problem is because it goes around a 90-degree corner and it's horizontal, it can still clog up with enough time and junk falling into the sunroof drains. So the big modification I did there was I actually ran a new pipe down the A-pillar, and then instead of going through the firewall, it continues to go straight down through in behind the plastic sort of covering on the inside there, and it actually pops up right under here, pops out. I don't know if you can see it, but up in there, a little pipe that comes out. So it's what they should have done from factory. I did it on both sides. It's never had a problem since. It's been awesome. All right, so back to the back of the truck. We've got the LED tail lights. Really love those. I got those for Christmas. That's pretty much it on the outside. So if we open up the back here, we can see we have a drawer. A lot of standard stuff in it for wheeling and surviving the outdoors. We've got the bear spray and the horn. Of course, I'm going to need, we need to pump up the tires. I got that as well. And of course, to pump up the tires, I have the air compressor mounted inside of here. Now, also with the drawer system, this actually was a part of a bed platform that I had fold out into the rear seat there. So basically, you put the seat down, and then you could fold out the bed and sleep in the truck. But of course, ever since I got the rooftop tent, I don't need that. But obviously, I still want to have the platform. I also custom made this little table here. It's got fold out legs. It fits perfectly into the back of the truck. On the right hand side, you can see I've got a power outlet with USB ports. That's actually powered off of this inverter right here. And the inverter gets its power directly from that high voltage power line that comes from the front of the truck. Now, that solar panel that you saw at the front, that currently is pulling in 18.1 volts at that 0 amps, powering a battery that's currently at 14.2 volts. So the battery is plenty charged. There's currently no load on it. But that battery is not the battery that's in the front of the truck. It's actually right here underneath the platform and in front of the the storage drawer. It's a lithium-ion battery. It's actually a Mercedes AMG lithium-ion starter battery. As you can see, don't mind all the wiring. It's all safe. I just got to clean it up still. So running off of that battery, basically I can have, well, the inverter actually is running off that battery now that I think about it. It's not getting power from the front. The pump back here is getting power from that. The inverter is running off of that. No, the inverter's not running off that. I always forget. I always forget what I did. The only thing I've actually got running off of that is this little plug right here. Basically, it's just one of those 2-port cigarette lighter plugs, and the reason it's got this tape on it is because this one kept coming out. But this I would normally have running a fridge freezer. Didn't need the fridge freezer for this trip because it's only 1-day trip. So normally I run the fridge freezer off of that, solely that, nothing else. There's 2 USB ports on the back of this thing as well that I can actually power the other devices that I want to. And then the fridge freezer also has a USB port that I can power stuff with as well. So if I ever want to power something off of that battery, it's easy enough to get to, but I really only use it for the fridge freezer, and that's about it. And because it's always kept charged, even if I kill the battery in the truck, I can still start the truck. I just have to jump it from that battery. But I've never had to do that. So, all right, so before I close up the back door here, one thing I wanted to just show you was this guy here. So this, again, 3D printed, H3. So that is actually a button to release the door from the inside. So if I'm sleeping in the truck, I want to be able to open up the door from the inside. So now all I have to do is just push that, and I can do so. So it's just a bar that's connected to the release mechanism from this handle, and allows me to open up the door from the inside. All right, nothing much changed back here. I did pull out the screens. I'm going to have some sort of a thing in there, but I haven't figured out what yet. I will say this, these nets are original, as are these clips, and you notice they're still in place. Why? Well, because it's a really easy fix. Check my description below to see a link to how you can fix these clips in 1 minute. It's basically as easy as putting a zap strap in between the 2 elastics. Very, very simple. All right, so before I get too much farther into the interior, these mats, they're called Tux mats. They're awesome. T-U-X-M-A-T. Definitely check those out. They've got great coverage. As you can see, they go all along. They do allow stuff in between this crack here, but it's really easy to get in there and vacuum that out. But other than that, you can see it rides up the side here all the way to the top, and even goes really far back under the seat as well. So those are really good mats. Okay, let's talk about the interior. All right, so when I get into the interior of my truck, there's a couple of things that I can do that are pretty cool. So one, you'll notice this slot right here. So this slot actually fits my phone perfectly. I slide my phone in there, and it connects up to a USB cable. As you can see right here, it's kind of glued into place. This is also 3D printed. So that connects up to the USB cable here, which connects up to a USB cable inside of there, which then connects up to this screen. So this is a 9-inch screen, 9 inches corner to corner. Be careful with these screens because it was supposed to be 10-inch, but it ends up being 9-inch. So it actually fits perfectly below the buttons up here and the knobs down here, which is exactly what I was looking for. It's the perfect size for this dashboard. The screen itself, or the deck itself, just runs Android 9, and you can pretty much put any software on there that you want. Now, one of the cool ones is Head Unit Reloaded. This allows you to use Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. So Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, basically when you plug the phone into the slot in here, it automatically pops up with Android Auto. Actually, sorry, I keep saying Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, but it doesn't do Apple CarPlay. It's just Android Auto. And besides, Apple CarPlay sucks because Apple sucks. Sorry. So you can see we've got self mode, so you can run sort of Android Auto directly from here if you want. But you can also, of course, run it from your phone, either wirelessly or through USB. I choose USB because the connection's a little bit faster. The other thing you can do from here, of course, is check out the front camera. So there we go. And if I put the vehicle into reverse, it switches to the rear camera. There we go. And it's actually covered up right now because of the cable from the trailer hitches there. But yeah, good cameras, pretty clear image comparatively speaking to a lot of car companies out there still. The other thing, of course, you can do with this is play music, play videos, play games if you want, because it literally is just Android. I can even use a custom map application if I want to navigate specifically in an area that, you know, doesn't have maps available. If I just want to use a satellite image that I've made a map on myself or whatever. I can also run torque from here to get a view of everything going on with the car, but instead I do that with this phone mounted up here. So this will be mounted cleaner in the future, but right now, as you can see, I've got transmission temperature, coolant temperature, altitude. We're at 1192 meters right now. I got my roll and my pitch meter, which I can calibrate just by hitting the center button. Go up here, I can see how many GPS satellites I'm connected to, the compass and everything, pretty straightforward stuff. I've got my miles per gallon, which is very inaccurate, so ignore that. I haven't configured that properly yet. I can clear faults, which with a Hummer H3, you better be ready for service engine lights. It shows me what gear I was in last. Now, obviously I'm in park right now, but the battery voltage, traction control, slip, GPS speed, and then of course all sorts of other stuff. This is just running torque. The reason I have this is because I want to be able to see my transmission and coolant temperature in real time. Those are the main reasons for having that up. Now, getting back to this stereo here, to control the stereo, I actually did install some aftermarket steering wheel controls. As you can see here and here, there we go. So these steering wheel controls, basically, they're sort of linked up wirelessly with a little box that goes in behind the stereo and connects to the steering wheel control wires. So these have batteries in them, and those batteries do last quite a while. I bought these, I don't know, like 6 months ago or something like that, and they're still going strong. Basically what I did was I got a Forstner drill bit, and I drilled shallow holes just about that deep into the steering wheel so I could fit these in. And yeah, it's not the cleanest solution in the world, but you know what? I now have controls over my stereo, which you can see here. I can actually adjust the volume really easily, skip to the next song, previous song, all that stuff. I've even got the ability to use voice recognition, because the previous owner was kind enough to run a microphone wire all the way to the OnStar microphone, which is kind of cool. So I can use the microphone there with the stereo very easily. I also have a 3D printed rocker switch panel here. There is 2 holes right now. I had covers, but the covers kind of fell off. Remember, I made this myself. Let me get this shifter out of the way here. So I had the rear lights hooked up originally. They're now disconnected. I've got the compressor, which I can turn on and off from there. The light bar actually turns on the ditch lights as well. So I need to get a ditch light switch. And I do have a button for the front fan, because right now I'm just using this diff lock button here for the front fan. So the previous owner installed these 2 billet buttons, one for the rear diff lock and one for the front diff lock, which he installed himself. So that's another modification I forgot to mention. This vehicle, while it only had the rear locker, the previous owner actually installed the cast iron front axle housing with diff locks. So it has front and rear diff locks. The rear diff lock button I probably won't use. I'm thinking I'm going to pull that out and replace it with something different. You may have also noticed that these lights are all blue. That's because I actually soldered in some LED lights there. I could have found the appropriate ones to fit, but didn't have them, didn't feel like buying some, so I just used existing lights that I had and soldered them in with resistors. I did the same thing up here, but unfortunately, as you can see, a lot of them don't work anymore. I didn't do all of them yet. This one I did. This one I think is original. This one I did and it's dead, as are these 2 here. So I got to fix that. I did the same thing with the buttons over here. As you can see, those are blue. These ones aren't currently working, so again, I need to replace that LED bulb. And I did that with all of the lights, so including the passenger and rear doors. They all have LED lights in them. I think that's it. I don't think I did anything else. So those are all my mods to date so far. Obviously, you know, being an off-road truck, it's never done, so there will be more mods to come. Still have to figure out something that I can do with those headrests. So if you have ideas, by all means, leave a comment below. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to comment below if you have any suggestions for future modifications. And again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.